Now, here's the same conservative grift that gets played every single fucking time I hear one of these idiots open their stupid fucking mouths, okay? The left claims to want equality. What do they mean by that? Do they mean equality of outcome, where we're all exactly the same? Well, that's impossible. Equality's impossible. This is I hear it every single fucking time. It's insane how often they do this. It's, well, that can happen, actually, obviously. Nobody, let me be perfectly clear about this. Nobody talks about equality of outcome. Nobody does. Absolutely nobody. Nobody. Zero people do. Okay?
Okay, this is this is interesting on two levels. Okay, first of all, I don't know where Vaush has been for the last forever, 4 years or so that he's been on the internet, because the entire conversation right now with the leftists and the online internet communist people is that they're trying to shift the conversation away from equality of opportunity to, what is it called? What is that term we keep hearing being thrown around?
Equity.
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 Right. And we've all seen that dumb like picture of the guy standing on the box looking at the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like equality of opportunity. They all get one box. And oh, the really short guy can't see. And the really tall guy doesn't even need the box. But then equity, oh, that's when you give the short guy the extra boxes so that they'll have the same outcome. Like this is literally the entire conversation that's being had right now, is the shift away from equality of opportunity to advocating for equity specifically. And Vaush further, he kind of goes on, he kind of strawmans what people mean when they say equality of results.
Yeah, equity. I know. That's the most interesting part. They've been talking about it for so fucking long. They've changed the term.
Right. But usually, like specifically a lot now, when people talk about equity and equality of results, they're referring to, I want to look at every part in society and see an exact breakdown of gender and race that mirrors whatever the population is. They're saying they want racial equity. They want equal results to be in terms of the differences in the different outcomes, I guess, between ethnic groups and in genders. And that's where we really see people advocating for equality of results. And for him to pretend like this isn't happening is insane. This is literally the way systemic racism is measured. Systemic racism, because remember, whenever someone talks about systemic racism, they always say, oh, I'm not talking about individual bias. I'm not talking about, the actions of individuals. These are things that are either created by subconscious things, or they're just inherent in the system, right? These are things that an individual person can't control. And you say, okay, well, wait a minute. If racism is inherent in the system, and no person is individually acting in a bigoted way, how do you measure it? And they say, well, you look at the outcome.
Yes, exactly.
And so the entire way that the current leftist movement measures whether systemic racism exists or not is to look at the outcome and say, if the outcomes are not equal among different ethnic groups, then racism must occur. That's literally the entire fucking argument. So for Vaush to sit here and say no one's arguing this is like, I don't know what planet he's living on.
Jonathan Haidt, in his last book, The Calling of the American Mind, dismantles this argument completely. He says, there could be different outcomes, and it could be a product of racism, but you just can't assume that because, correlation doesn't equal causation. Vaush here is a sociology major. If there's one thing that they drowned into your head the whole time you're in studying sociology, it's correlation doesn't equal causation. So he should know this. The interesting thing also is that this video is about affirmative action. Affirmative action is literally the equality of outcome. I looked up affirmative action after I watched this clip, and in some places they are literally doing a quota where you have to hire a certain number of people that mirror the population. That's equality of outcome. That's exactly what it is. What Thomas Sowell is arguing is that creates injustice. Yeah, it's Thomas Sowell, right? Now he's got
Thomas
me doing
Sowell.
He's a soul, man. Thomas Sowell. They're literally you are creating injustice procedurally if you focus on equality of outcome. That's the argument against equality of outcome. If you want procedural injustice in the world, if you want to hire people based on their skin color, which many people call racism, then you have affirmative action. So those are the two arguments.
Right. Well, and isn't there's some law? I don't think it's passed, but they're trying to pass it. Is in California.
I know.
And your great home state.
I
where
know.
They're saying that, like, was it the boards of companies have to have the exact racial, ethnic background or breakup as is the population?
They're trying to revoke the law that says you cannot discriminate based on race, because affirmative action is in fact illegal, and I guess it's been challenged in the courts and they found it to be illegal. So in order to continue doing affirmative action or do any of the bonkers things that they want to do, tailor the board makeup of some corporation by whatever the mirroring the population out there, they have to get rid of this law. They have to actually do racist things. It's crazy. It's totally bonkers.
Can you imagine trying to repeal the law that says we shouldn't discriminate?
They're doing it now. It's on the ballot. It's literally on the ballot in California.
Crazy. This is so crazy.
But this is the good kind of racism, though. And Vaush should really speak to this stuff. Is he in favor of this good kind, this good, air quotes, kind of racism? I guess so.
Well, it's excuse me. It's interesting when you what's the guy's name? Ibram Kendi. At least he's very open and upfront with like where all this rhetoric goes, because he specifically says the only way to fix past discrimination is with present discrimination.
Right.
So he's basically echoing this behavior.
When do you clear the slate, though? That's the problem. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to live in a colorblind society where they're just like, can we move on already?
When we're talking about the concept of equality of outcome is this nebulous, dystopic like concept that nobody seriously advocates for in politics. Nobody does. When people talk about equality...
See, just a moment of silence. A moment of silence for this. What is he talking about?
I don't... Well, you'll see. He kind of strawmans the entire thing.
People are talking about equality of opportunity, equality of access, equality of process. That's what people are talking about. Very simply, if you are born in this world, it is best that everyone have basically the same shot at being able to succeed. Does that mean everyone will succeed? No, of course not, obviously. Even in some perfect communist world or whatever, like where everyone's super perfectly equal or whatever, there will still be differences in people's performance. There will still be differences in people's outcomes. And I think that's a beautiful thing, by the way. I don't want to be exactly like anyone else. Nobody does.
Is this it, guys? Is this the video where Vaush comes out as a liberal? Is that what's happening?
He wants to climb the hierarchy. Are you kidding me? Who is more conscious about his status than Vaush?
That's true. That's true. He doesn't want to flatten the hierarchies. Look.
Everybody likes the variety in humanity that they see as a product of inequality of outcome. Everybody likes that. Nobody wants to be exactly the same height, strength. But the thing is, the equality of outcome is such a stupidly impossible, undesirable concept. Nobody's going out to bat for it. So when people
see, he's literally destroying himself here, isn't he?
I know. Well, it's weird because first he's like, oh, no one wants to be like the same height. It's like, well, okay, no, obviously no one's advocating that like everyone be the same height. Well, maybe
Milton Freeman. I mean, he looks like he's about 4'9". I mean,
right, but no one's advocating like, oh, everyone has to be the same level of strength or height or some physical attribute. That's what no one is talking. So he's like he's saying no one's talking about this, but then he strawmans the thing that no one's talking about, because yes, no one is talking about that, Vaush.
People like Thomas over here are like, well, you have this thing called you have it called equality of outcome. Nobody's talking about this. And when people who pretend to be intellectuals waste...
This is what's just so great about this. They are literally talking about it in this fucking video.
Well, this is great on like so many levels, because you guys know me and my weaponized autism. I actually and then I went and I listened to the full 5-minute video, and then I said, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Let me go find like what this is from, because I feel like there's some huge context missing in this conversation that Vaush totally doesn't understand, and I don't understand either. So I go and I find the entire original video of this. It's like an hour long or so. It's actually really funny. Milton Friedman apparently used to do this thing. This is like before the internet. Milton Friedman used to do this thing where he would produce these like really lame 30-minute like 1970s style like not very persuasive like
what's so
educational
lame
videos.
about those? Those are what I was watching.
They're so
I
bad.
was watching like I was just lining those up, watching them one after another.
It's like it was called the Free to Choose. Yeah, it says right there on the screen. It was like the Milton Friedman's Free to Choose series, and it'd be like this 30-minute video with like the narrator from the 70s. It's like the most 70s thing you could think of, and he just kind of like goes through a bunch of random shit. So they would watch the show is structured so that they would watch this video that Milton Friedman made, and then everyone would argue about it after the fact.
Oh,
okay?
wow.
So it's almost like what we're doing. It's really
I love it. I love it.
And so what directly precedes what Thomas Sowell is saying is that, and this is why this is so funny, is that it's actually the person on the left. I don't know what their exact position is. I don't know if they're a liberal or a communist or whatever. The person who's anti Milton Friedman, they're the one saying that no, Milton Friedman is strawmanning equality of outcome. He's the one that's bringing up equality of outcome. And Thomas Sowell is saying, no, that's a straw man. So Thomas Sowell in this clip is saying that the left is straw manning Milton Friedman by claiming that he's talking about equality of outcome. And then Vaush says, no, Thomas Sowell's the one who's straw manning because he's talking about equality of outcome.
It's like Inception, man. Vaush even says, why am I even doing this video? This lady's completely destroying him because she's strawmanning him in the same way.
Yeah, this is why it's important to look up context to these things before you go and publicly make your opinions known on them.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So
Waste any of their time on this idea.
and wait, so this is 426. I just want to go back so it's very clear, so you can hear it yourself.
Strawman to talk about absolute
Okay, it's right there.
enhance or reduce freedom. And I think the argument that Milton is making, certainly the argument that I would make, is that the attempt at doing these things, and it doesn't really matter, it's a complete straw man to talk about absolute inequality.
See, he says it's a complete straw man to talk about absolute inequality. He agrees with Vaush. That's a straw man. No one's talking about that. And Vaush accuses him of talking about the thing that he's saying is a straw man. So
yes, Vaush, this is the height example that Vaush gave. Like nobody's talking about that. Yes.
Right. And if you watch the whole clip, there is a criticism you can easily levy at Friedman, which is that in his 30-minute video and in the conversation, he's not being exactly clear what form of equality of opportunity he's in favor of. He never describes it. And the people he's arguing with are stupid in that they never press him to really nail down what the hell he's talking about so that they can argue against it or in favor of it effectively.
Yes. Yeah. He's against state power. So I don't necessarily know
Right.
how he would give equality of opportunity without some sort of state power.
But even Friedman says in this conversation, he says, I'm not saying that anyone's in favor of equality of identity, which is the whole height argument or whatever.
Right.
The intellectuals waste any of their time on this idea. What they're trying to do is give you the false impression that there's some other political entity, the left, that does care about this, and their dystopic vision will reign and destroy all of America as we know it. No. Nobody talks about this.
You know, except for everyone talking about racial equity. We'll just ignore them.
Yeah. Critical race theory doesn't exist, guys.
I know. Or all the people saying, oh, well, you know, if there's not the same amount of women in certain STEM fields, it must be because of sexism.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that doesn't exist. I never hear that. Just
Never heard that in my
every
life.
single day on Twitter.